Hello, race fans, and welcome to Grid Live. Joe Diego and Kobe Lambeth from the podium finish. It's another NASCAR race weekend, but this time it's from Thunder Valley, home of Bristol Motor Speedway. Kobe, how excited are you for about Bristol today?
It's Bristol, baby. I can't wait for some short track racing this afternoon, and I'm sure, given everything that's going on in the United States right now, it should serve as a wonderful escape for race fans all across the country and the world to sit back and enjoy NASCAR on a Sunday afternoon at Bristol Motor Speedway in Thunder Valley.
Yes, it's definitely going to be a nice escape from everything going on this weekend. I know we're hopefully everyone stays safe out there, and for everyone watching, be sure to leave a comment, especially who you think is going to win today at Bristol. Any questions you have for Kobe and I, and definitely I know one of the questions I have for Kobe is what's one of your favorite memories at Bristol Motor Speedway?
Well, I remember as a kid watching Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart battle for position, and then Tony Stewart and Matt Kenseth made contact. Matt Kenseth went slamming into the inside wall. No, yeah, I think it was Matt Kenseth, and also Tony Stewart was involved. And then Tony Stewart was like so mad at Matt Kenseth, he grabbed his helmet and swung it at him, and it just shows you short tracks, hot tempers, and that's why short tracks have always been so popular to race fans. Yeah, and that was one of my favorite memories watching NASCAR as a kid growing up, and some of my most recent memories involve the same driver, Matt DiBenedetto, when he took a BK racing car and got a top 10. Yeah, when BK Racing was around, they were one of the back markers in the Cup Series, so you would have never expected a BK racing car to finish in the top 10, especially at Bristol, which is a driver's track, and that just showed the talent that Matt DiBenedetto had. And then last fall in the Bristol night race, Matt DiBenedetto, he almost won his first NASCAR Cup Series race, and until he had a little incident with Ryan Newman during the final run, and Denny Hamlin was able to get by him and win the race. And 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 then also it was such an emotional moment because Matt DiBenedetto lost his ride at Levine Family Racing, and he ultimately got picked up by the Wood brothers later on. So it's gonna be interesting to see if he can get redemption from last fall later today.
Those are a lot of great memories, especially last year with Matt Benedetto. I know one of my favorites has to be when Terry Labonte came across the finish line sideways because Dale Earnhardt made contact with him exiting turn four and him pulling into victory lane with a car with a crumpled up hood, steam coming out, and clearly if there'd been another lap he would have not made the completed the race, but he was able to just cross the finish line and get to the end. Now, of course, Bristol is notorious for being an unpredictable race. Multiple caution flags. They can make or break a driver into points as well. I know, especially in the grid ranking, a lot of the drivers are in the top 10 as we take a look at it. Denny Hamlin's fourth place, Kevin Harvick fifth place, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and Kyle Busch. Out of all the drivers there, who do you feel has the most to lose considering we're coming into Bristol?
To be honest with you, I don't really think any of them have anything to lose in particular. And as we all know, we just restarted NASCAR just a couple of weeks ago, and these teams are still building chemistry. It was like a restart of the season. Like everything that happened before May 17th, that's irrelevant now. And whatever happens May 17th and onward, that's what they need to focus on. So I don't really think that any of the drivers on the list like have anything to lose at this point. But as we get closer to the playoffs, they'll definitely have more to lose.
Yes, definitely. It's going to be one of those things. All those drivers are really good at Bristol. I know it's going to be one of those things where, especially Kyle Busch, he has a lot of wins there. Chase Elliott seems to have the momentum. And definitely, it's just going to be one of those things. It seems experience always seems to play out more in Bristol. We'll get a little bit into that. Kobe, I know you have a little bit you want to share with us as well.
Oh yes, my colleague at the podium finish. His name is Luis Torres. He launched a podcast called Behind the Exploratory Lenses. He plans to release new episodes on Thursdays. The podcast will discuss his racing ventures as a motorsports media journeyman, other subjects as well like music, lifestyle, and he's also going to have guests on his podcast as well. And you can find Luis Torres's podcast at www.luisdtorres.com/podcast.
Definitely, we encourage all our fans watching to check that out. We have the link in the video description below if you're watching on YouTube. I know we have one fan share. They're playing for Quinn Huff for a surprise finish today. That'll be really interesting to see if we do have a surprise winner today. Now, definitely, let's talk a little bit about what happened, how we got here. Last week, NASCAR was at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Coca-Cola 600. We all know Chase Elliott was poised to win that. However, a late caution and a pit stop while multiple drivers stayed out cost him the win. Brad Keselowski took that win. I know you, Kobe, you were covering every race from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, rain delay, Wednesday, and then Thursday. So you were just as busy as Kyle Busch. We saw a great race with Logano winning a stage on older tires as well as Bowman. And at the end, Chase Elliott was able to catch up to Kevin Harvick and take the win. Now, of course, that was a 500K race, one of the shortest races. But still, we've seen Chase Elliott after Darlington, where he was sent to the wall in the closing stages and had a lot of momentum on Denny Hamlin. We saw him almost win the Coke 600, and he quickly rebounded to win the 500K race. Is that team stronger and even more, I guess you could say, gelling, working right, where they're going to be a bigger threat to win, especially now they got that initial win out of the way?
Mm. Oh, absolutely. Since we started the season, it seems like Chase Elliott been firing on all cylinders, and you saw the passion and the anger behind what happened on that midweek race at Darlington when him and Kyle Busch made contact and ended Chase's night, and then the entire 9 team was really mad, and then they tried to go to the Coca-Cola 600. Things are going well. Then Alan Gustafson made that very controversial call to come down pit road late in the race, which ultimately ended up with Chase Elliott losing the race because they didn't stay out during, during that late caution, and then Chase Elliott won the Allsco 500K at Charlotte, and including that win, and with the momentum for beating Kyle Busch in the Bounty, Chase Elliott is riding a massive wave of momentum, and I think that he is a serious championship contender this season.
Definitely, he looks like a very serious championship contender. And in fact, Hendrick Motorsports seems to be doing a lot better. Alex Bowman already has a win. And in fact, Alex Bowman has more stage wins than any other driver so far this season. Chase Elliott now has his win. Jimmy Johnson, he is improving. And William Byron was looking really strong until that pit road contact he had with Corey LaJoie. A lot of people are anticipating William Byron to be one of the favorites to win today. I know we had another fan leave us a comment. They're predicting a surprise winner as well with Bubba Wallace in the 43 team. Do you see William Byron possibly winning or any other first time winners today?
While I don't think William Byron is going to win today, I do think that he's going to get his first Cup Series win later this season because William Byron is showing such a strong form right now, and it would really surprise me if William Byron doesn't find victory lane this season. And I think if William Byron doesn't win a race this season, I think people will start questioning him, like whether or not he's the right driver in that 24 car. I understand William Byron is still a young driver in the Cup Series and all, but I've actually seen some comments on social media about from some fans questioning William Byron, saying that he needs to win a race this season, or there's going to be some questions. But I do think we could potentially see a first time NASCAR Cup Series winner later today, and I'll give you my pick when we get to pick a winner at the very end of this pre-race show.
And definitely for all our fans watching, be sure to share your pick a winner picks. Let's see how all turns out. And definitely, if you got the correct answer later in the post race show, we'll try to give you a shout out. I know overall, Bristol has only seen 5 first time winners. The last one was Kurt Busch back in 2002. So if we do get a first time winner today, that'll be a big surprise. Now, taking a look at the top 10 starters for today's race, the little asterisk indicates past winners. I know when you see the list of top 10s, who are some of the favorites that you see are going to have a good race and are going to be hard to beat today?
Without a doubt, the Penske cars. In the past few Bristol races, you've seen the likes of Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano have been strong, and also Kyle Busch is good at Bristol as well.
Definitely the Penske cars. They're going to be really hard to beat. I know one of the big things we see, of course, is Kyle Busch, seventh. He's going to be really hard. Denny Hamlin, who, of course, won, and Matt DiBenedetto, who is in ninth. Now with the Wood brothers, which is Penske equipment, he seems to have a lot more going for him to possibly break through and get that win, which will be great. Now, when it comes to the Busch brothers, of course, we all know with the both Busch brothers, they have in total 14 wins. Essentially, Kurt Busch has 6 wins, Kyle Busch 7 wins. So it's going to be really close to see who do you think is going to be the better Busch brother today.
I think it's gonna be Kyle Busch today. Like not for any particular reason. I just think Kyle Busch is gonna get a better finish than Kurt Busch. But I also expect Kurt Busch to have a great day as well, and I expect Kurt Busch to win a race later this season at some point because the Ganassi cars are really fast, and also wouldn't surprise me if we see Matt Kenseth end up in victory lane later on.
The Chip Ganassi racing team, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, they seem to be really working well so far. I know Matt Kenseth had a couple rough races, late spins, and bad luck, but definitely Kurt Busch. He's starting at 12, so he's not that far. Overall, winning at Bristol doesn't have a big of an advantage being in the top 10. Still, starting the top 10, you have a better than 70% chance of winning. But today's Bristol is going to be a little bit more different because we have now a different aero package, essentially smaller spoiler, 750 horsepower. What kind of setups do you think the teams are looking at for today? Especially, it's a green racetrack, no practice, no qualifying.
Uh, Honestly, I have no idea what to expect when we go green, but I think with more motor and the lower downforce instead of having a high downforce, I think we're definitely gonna see a much better show this year on the short tracks than what we saw last year, which was it was like the restarts. The drivers had to drive very hard and get what you could get on the restarts, and then passing got really tough after that. And NASCAR saw that as well, so they reacted by changing the aero package to make passing much easier, but by going from the tall spoiler to a shorter spoiler, and then changing the splitter as well. And then with 750 horsepower, it's a lot easier to pass on these tracks, and I'm definitely not a setup guru at all, but I'm sure the drivers will provide excellent feedback to the crew chief, so they'll be able to make the right adjustments to improve their car throughout the course of the race.
Definitely, it's going to be something where the drivers are going to have to do a lot of feedback, especially with that smaller spoiler, a little less downforce. Now, as a green racetrack, it's always been rough on tires to the point where we don't see a whole lot of fuel mileage. In fact, fuel mileage usually is about 150 laps before you see the first window. But definitely, it's going to be one of those things where, as we're going to see, where handling is going to be more of an issue, the tires, saving your equipment, and trying to stay up front will be bigger issues as well because in Bristol, 15 seconds a lap, it's too easy to have a bad setup, fall to the back, fall laps behind, and once that leader is lapping the field, it gets really tricky to get the lucky dog position. Now, one of the big things the last few years and today, they are using PJ1 traction compound for the bottom 4 feet of the turns. This is to encourage essentially, the bottom groove because in the past, especially after 2007 and then the redesign where they tried to bring back the original format, that top line has been too tough. Do you think we're going to see racing similar to prior to 2007 reconfiguration where the bottom line, that bottom groove is going to be the must-have position?
Honestly, I have no idea at this point because I haven't seen any practice qualifying or whatever. There haven't been any cars on track, so they're just gonna line them up and race. But I'm sure the hope is that we can have what they call the old Bristol back, because that's the Bristol that a lot of people fell in love with, when you could do the bump and run, and then tempers flare because the driver that got knocked out of the way isn't happy at all, and then that's definitely something that the fans love to see. But unfortunately, during this time, it will be a hefty price to try to go fight somebody, because NASCAR is taking the social distancing measures very seriously. So until we can have some restrictions lifted, you're probably not gonna see those hot tempers boil over, because it will be a bad look for the sport on a national level.
Yes, you bring up a really good point, especially a lot of times we have seen hot tempers, drivers getting upset at each other over what happens on the track. Now NASCAR is going to have to really try to remind everybody social distancing, put on your mask. We don't want something like a big repeat of Clint Boyer versus Jeff Gordon at Phoenix. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. It's almost unpredictable just because of the fact we do have the traction compound over in the bottom of the corners, but we're going to have a green racetrack. So it might be something where we will see a couple times that bottom lane is the preferred. But as drivers that are stuck on the outside lane move up and slowly start to build that groove, we might see again two, possibly even a third groove if you can make that middle lane with a little bit of traction compound work for some really close racing as well. I know last year was a really good indicator of that as well, but now we got a brand new setup. So I do think that bottom lane will be really prime real estate the first half, but I think by the second half of the race, we're going to start seeing where that top line, that top groove is going to become important. This year as well, another difference is the stage length. We got the first stage is 125 laps, 125 laps for the second stage, which will put us at 250 halfway, and then a 250 final stage. When it comes to strategy, I know fuel runs are generally not an issue because of the amount of yellow flags. We do see tires become a big issue. How critical is it for the pit crews to be on their top game today?
They definitely need to be on their top on their top game at, Bristol, because at a track like this, they have like half of the pits are on the front stretch and half of the pits are on the back stretch. Yeah, this is one of the more unique pit road setups in in NASCAR, and making just one little mistake on pit road can cost you a ton of positions on this unique pit road setup.
Definitely, and one of the things you bring up is the unique pit road setup. It used to be back before they had the cars enter into turn two and then go all the way around to turn one. It used to be if you're in that backstretch pit stalls, you had the big disadvantage because by the time the folks started pitting in the front stretch were done, you were just getting in and you would always lose positions. But definitely, it's one of those things where there's very slow chance we're going to see green flag pit stops. But even under the yellow, you're looking at losing positions because it's such a tight track. I think we're going to see a lot of caution flags as well too, especially considering how green the track is. The drivers, their first laps are just going to be out of the truck and onto the race. If you were to guesstimate the range of caution flags we're looking at today, how many are you thinking?
If I had to make a prediction, I'd say we may see 10 to 12 cautions today. I think it's definitely gonna be a chaotic race today.
Yeah, definitely. It's something where it's going to look like going to be a really important thing with the caution flags and looking at all the pit stops as well. Especially the laps are 15 seconds. A lot of time where we see a trouble occur coming out of the corner. By the time the leaders have started entering the corner, they're already caught up with no place to go. One of the big things we're going to be looking at is how many cautions. In the past, around 10 cautions since 2015. And we do see where fuel mileage is not a big issue, but definitely the pit stops when the cautions come out as well too. We know we're going to have two cautions for the stage breaks automatically, but there's going to be plenty more. I believe they're going to have a competition caution as well too in the beginning, just to monitor the tire wear. Now, when it comes to pick a winner, I know last week we didn't mention on the air. We did go on Twitter. We also verified see anybody else got a pick a winner correct so far. No, but I did correctly on Twitter predict Chase Elliott to win the 500K race. So right now I'm on the board with 1 point. So definitely, since I won last week, I'll let you go ahead and start first. When it comes to Bristol, and for all their fans, please comment. Who do you think is going to win today?
Well, I think we're gonna see a first time NASCAR Cup Series winner today, and it's gonna be the man that they call Guido, Matt DiBenedetto, driver of the number 21 Wood Brothers Racing Ford Mustang.
That will be a really popular win. See Matt DiBenedetto win after last year's heartbreak. I'm gonna go with a person that's in the top 10. He seems to be running good, and this is one of his favorite tracks. He's going to get another win. I'm going with Kyle Busch today. I do see that team running well. Last week he had bad luck with essentially the fender flaring out and cutting the tire. It's going to be really good racing. He's in the top 10. The big thing is just staying out of trouble. I know it's going to be just one of those races where I'm excited about. I feel like this is almost getting to pre-pandemic where we have that pre-race excitement and all that festivity and that energy in the air. Of course, for everyone watching, after the race, we will have a post-race grid live today. I know Kobe will be joining us. I'll be here too. It will follow about 30 minutes following the conclusion of the NASCAR race. Might be a little bit longer, but definitely be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Excuse me, we don't have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and definitely we'll see you at the post race. I know, Kobe, before we go off the air, do you have any final insights or thoughts going into today's race?
Nothing in particular about the race. I just wanted to speak to all the race fans out there in general and say I want you to do one thing for me. Sit back and enjoy today's show because there's a lot of crazy, ugly things going on right now in the world, and I think having sports as an escape is the best way for us all to heal during difficult times.
Definitely having the sports to watch help. Sorry, take the mindset off everything going on. I know going into today's race, I'm really going to be curious to see not so much momentum for Rick Hendrick, but definitely I think for Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch, see if Eric Jones going to have a strong performance as well. A lot of folks are seeing him potentially looking for a new rise or something bigger and better, but he's already has a couple good races. And definitely echo everything Kobe said. Enjoy the race. Let's all just take a moment. This is going to be a fun event. I think there will be tempers. It is Bristol. You can't avoid it. There's going to be wrecked cars, a lot of mayhem, and overall, we do see it's going to be a good race. We hope to see everyone after the race as well for our Grid Live program, post race edition. On behalf of Kobe from the podium finish, I'm Joe Samdiego. Thank you for watching and enjoy the race. We'll see you after the race.